Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the public hearing on the proposed budget for Rutherford County for the 2011-2012 fiscal year. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your interest in the budget process, those of you in the audience here in the courtroom and those watching on Channel 19. I would like to make some introductions, and the following introductions are the people who do the bulk of the work on the budget proposal before it gets to the committee process, and that would be our County Mayor, Ernest Burgess, our Finance Director, Lisa Nolan, and the Deputy Finance Director, Elaine Short. The members of the Budget Committee are Commissioner Charlie Baum, Commissioner Joe Frank Jernigan, Commissioner Will Jordan, who is serving as Vice Chairman, Commissioner Robert P., Commissioner Doug Schaefer, Commissioner Steve Sandlin, and my name is Joyce Ely, and I am serving as Chairman. We do have some other commissioners in attendance tonight, and thank you very much for being here. Commissioner Jordan, Commissioner Jeff Phillips, Commissioner Sereno, Commissioner Carol Cook, and Commissioner Alan McAdoo. In the proposed budget, the county mayor makes a recommendation on the general fund, the solid waste sanitation fund, the ambulance service fund, the special purpose fund, the drug fund, and the industrial development fund. The county mayor does not make a recommendation on the debt service fund. That action is taken by the Budget and Finance Investment Committee. And the highway fund, the budget comes from the elected road board, and from the elected school board we get the general purpose school fund budget amendment, budget proposal, as well as the cafeteria fund and the education capital projects fund. The Budget, Finance, and Investment Committee has had several work sessions reviewing the budget, and those meetings have been televised on Channel 19. The budget proposal that will be presented tonight was published in the Sunday edition of the Murfreesboro Post, and tonight you will hear from our Finance Director the details of the proposed budget. After that, if there is anyone who would like to make any comments, we will certainly give you an opportunity to do so. The details of all the budgets are available in the Finance Office Department. That can be reviewed at your convenience. I will now ask our Finance Director, Mrs. Nolan, to give us the details of the 2011-2012 proposed budget.
Thank you, Commissioner Ely. I'll start at the end of the story. To me, the end of the story is what happens to the tax rate. So the end of our story tonight is that we are not recommending a tax increase, but to maintain our current rate of $2.46.50. However, we are recommending a change in the allocation. The only allocation would be a ½ cent from the ambulance fund into the highway fund. And the reason for that is to maintain our local effort in that highway fund. Local effort is how much of our local tax dollars are going into that fund to fund the highway operations. There is a requirement that those local dollars equal at least the average of the last 5 years. So no increase in the tax rate. This is just a picture of the rate. You can see that 48% of the property tax pennies go to operate our school systems, 22% goes to fund the brick and mortar that we have put up to pay for the debt. If you add that, 70% of the property tax is for education. Now, when we talk about the dollars of the current levy, using $5,862 million in valuation of real and personal property. Yeah, you needing something? Okay. Okay. what you need. Okay. Using the estimate from the assessor of $5.8 billion in assessments and $161 million in assessments for public utilities, with the tax rate at $2.46.5, that will generate, after a delinquency rate, $142,907,000. Now, of that, $10,200,000 will be allocated to the City of Murfreesboro school system, and that equates to about 17 cents of the tax rate. That leaves $132,700,000 of current levy for all the operations of Rutherford County. So what's a penny worth? General fund penny is nearly $580,000. Whoa, I'm sorry, went too fast. School penny, almost $494,000. And the difference between those two pennies is the amount that we would be sending to City of Murfreesboro school system, about $89,000 of the penny. So where is all of our revenue coming from to fund next year's budget? This current levy that we talked about represents 31% of the total revenue. Other county property tax, that would be those folks who are a little delinquent, and these are prior year taxes that people are paying, plus their interest and penalty. Local sales tax makes up 9% of our budget. State revenue makes up 39% of the total budget, and that is primarily coming from the state of Tennessee through the BEP formula, $166 million. So again, 31% from current property tax, 39% from the state of Tennessee. Now, speaking to the appropriations, our total budget for all operations, $444 million, of which 16% is county general. And within county general, of course, is our public safety, finance, administration. I'm going to flip ahead to this one real quick. So of the county general, as I said, 16% of our total appropriation is for the general fund. And within the general fund, 53% of that is for public safety, or $38 million. So when we speak to the public safety, of course, we're not just speaking about the Sheriff's Department and the jail, but also juvenile detention, the workhouse, building codes, emergency management, and our fire department. I'm just going to flip back real quick because I think I went a little bit too fast. So our next thing that we're going to talk about is the school fund. We talked about the general fund. Our next major fund is schools. Oh no, we're going to talk about other important points in the general fund. Of course, in the general fund, we've not included any increase to the base table. However, the steps that were earned in fiscal 10-11 that will be awarded in 11-12, but we have no cost of living increases. 6 positions have been added to our budget: a personal property auditor within the assessor's department. In the sheriff's department, we've added an HVAC technician and a domestic violence investigator. In the workhouse, we've added 2 community sanction officers. For PAWS, we've added a vet technician, and then for the Elaine Agri Park, we've added a grounds manager. We've eliminated 2 positions, one in the county attorney's office and one in the Register of Deeds office. And we've got 2 positions that are just moving locations. Both of them relate to the Sheriff's Department. One was funded by the ARA monies, and the other one was a current Sheriff's Department employee that will be moving to a separate function, the sex offender registry function of our budget. Now for schools. The schools recommended for all of the functions is $285 million, with $266.8 million being for general operations of the schools, $15.7 million for the cafeteria, and $2.4 million for the educational projects. Okay. Either this is going too fast. There we go. Okay, in the general purpose school fund, we have a 3.6% increase over the current amended budget, or an increase of $9.3 million. Now, to help fund that increase, we've got an increase of $6.1 million in state funding and $2.6 million in sales tax that is dedicated for schools. Now, for schools, there's a 1.6% increase to their base table, and there has not, that's to the state side of their budget, but I think in the budget they've increased 1.6 on all the salary, but the state portion of the teacher's salary has not had an increase since 07-08. That was the last fiscal year that we had any increase to the state portion of the teacher's salary. And then 1.4% non-recurring bonus that will be funded from the Education Jobs Fund is included. There's also 100.7 new positions. The school improvements out of the School Capital Projects Fund includes Kittrell Sewer. For McFadden, it would be a renovation, roofing, and paving. Campus School, to complete their renovation, I believe that was $400,000. Smyrna High School will have a replacement HVAC. Riverdale have their paving. And then there's other roofing projects: Buchanan, Rockville Elementary, Smyrna Primary, and Walter Hill Elementary. Moving to the debt service fund. We're estimating appropriations next year at $62.4 million. Can't really hardly compare that to the prior year because we did have quite a bit of refundings that happened during our current year, a total of $150 million. But just so that you compare the 3 years, within next year's budget is a $21 million note that we're anticipating being refunded, so that is reflected there. So you take that $20 million, you kind of have a better comparison between the 3 years. What we all like to talk about is how much debt do we owe? At the end of this fiscal year, we'll owe $354 million in principal. We are scheduled to pay $24.1 million in principal payments for next year. So we would expect next year to end at $330 million, but we are anticipating a fall borrowing, potentially $50 million is what the estimate is, what we've been working with. Of course, we'll know that when we get back. What will be coming forward is a capital outlay note to give us some interim financing between now and when we go to the bond market. In the budget, I'm going to back up. There's also, if this will back up, yeah, there you go. Within that $62.4 million appropriation is $1.8 million to fund debt service on that $50 million. So it's already in there. Don't want to leave out Road and Bridge Fund. The estimate is $9.3 million for next year's appropriation, and that's pretty consistent with what we've done in the last 2 years. Okay. The significant items in the Highway Department is the elimination of 3 positions, 2 equipment operators and a truck driver, and their budget does include step increases for their employees. So this is really the end of the story. We're estimating total revenues, again, $427.6 million, with appropriations at $444 million. So our revenues are below our appropriations by $16.4 million. So how are we going to do that? We're going to be relying on our unassigned fund balances to get us through to next year. We're anticipating beginning the year with $81 million in beginning balances using 16.4, 16.1, ending with 64.8. Then we take the other measurements as how do we do with our policy? Well, as presented, we are showing that we will maintain 15.7% in the general fund, and our requirement is 15. Schools will be at 3.8, and their requirement is at 3. The cafeteria is below the required 25. They can't have more than 25, so they were estimating them at 17. And our debt service is at 50.8. Now, when you take out the refunding of the note, that effect, then our balance is about 75%. Okay. That concludes my overview. As Ms. Ely said, a detailed budget is in our office for anybody who would like to come in and see and sit down and talk with us and bring your coffee, and we've got a comfortable place for you. Now, we'll post the presentation on our website or on the county's website, but after the budget is completed, we close our books, our detailed budget will be on our website. Okay, Ms. Ely, I'll turn it back to you.
This is part of the meeting where we have set aside time for the public to speak. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to any part of the budget? I would ask if you want to speak to come to the podium, give your name and your address for the record, and I would ask you to keep your comments to 3 minutes. But since we don't have a huge number getting ready to come speak, I don't think I'm going to have to worry about being strict on time. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to any part of the budget? I see no one in the audience coming forward who wishes to speak to any part of the budget, so I will remind those watching on television and then those of you who are here in the audience. The Budget Committee has scheduled several meetings where we will continue to work on the proposed budget. Monday, June 20th, at our regularly scheduled time of 5:30, we will discuss the proposed budget as presented tonight and make any changes to the budget that is relative at that time. On Wednesday, June 22nd at 5:30, we will meet to recommend the tax levy and the appropriation resolution, and that is what will be presented to the full commission on Monday, June 27th at 9 a.m., and that, of course, is the day that we will adopt the budget. At this point, the public hearing is adjourned. Good evening.